Hi, it's Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center and kind of what we call MagMed TV. So today I'm going to talk about what's the deal with this medication that is being touted as a potential solution for the COVID-19 or coronavirus or SARS something number 2 or whatever they're calling it these days. So there's a medication called hydroxychloroquine or hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine, depending on where you're reading it from. Hydroxy is a different version of it. But I wanted to tell you what the story is with this medication and something you can do if you don't have access to this medication, right? Something you can do, and I want to be very careful about my disclaimer. Okay, so the FDA needs me to tell you that we're not here to diagnose, cure, prevent, treat any disease. Everybody raise your right hand, said that I gave you the disclaimer. I am not saying that what I'm going to tell you is going to treat your COVID-19 or any other disease for that matter. I'm going to tell you how to support normal physiology and help, based on research alone, help boost your immune system. I am not telling you this is going to fix your immune system. So everybody got that? Yep, yeah, good. Everybody got it. Okay. So this hydroxychloroquine is an anti-malaria drug, okay? So it comes from a medication earlier on, years ago, back in the early 1900s, from quinine. Many of you have heard of quinine, anti-malaria drug. Quinine comes from the bark of a tree called the chincana tree, or chincana bark. Might be saying that wrong. So this bark of a tree was found back in this is from South America, a long time ago, back in the Inca times. The Inca, if you remember that from like middle school, like geography or who knows what you studied, where you learned about the Incas and the Mayans and stuff like that. But they didn't obviously know anything about malaria. What they knew is that if they chewed the bark or bruised from the bark of this tree, that the shivers and the fatigue that we now believe was malaria, so what they documented as being this chincana bark helped with malaria, okay? So they just didn't know it was malaria back then. So we know as quinine, fast forward, man-made quinine, now hydroxychloroquine or hydroxychloroquine is this medication that we're hearing about in the news right now, and it can potentially have an impact on the coronavirus. So I wanted to tell you why this works, okay? So here you have this, I'm not a very good speller, hydroxychloroquine, okay? So this is a medication. Now what the evidence shows, are people watching? My wife is tending the phone here, people are watching. What this shows is that this medication, basically the reason why this medication works is because it helps get zinc into the cell, okay? So zinc has to be transported into the cell. So this is your cell, this is your little nucleus and your little DNA, and zinc inside the cell actually interrupts the production of the RNA. You're going back to like 5th grade science here, right? The RNA sequencing for the virus, okay? So zinc helps interrupt that, all right? The medication, according to the research, actually envelopes that zinc and helps transport the zinc into the cell. It doesn't actually show that the medication does anything else. It just shows that it helps get zinc into the cell. Now, one of the problems that we have in today's society in our diets, in the Western diet, China has a huge Western diet, by the way. The United States, we were used to be called the fatties because we were the heaviest country on the planet. China is giving us a run for our money because they've adopted very much in many ways a Western diet. But the point being is that our ability to absorb zinc and get zinc from our diets is much lower than it used to be, all right? So we need zinc in our diets, all right? We need to get zinc into the cells. So I'm gonna erase this for a second and just kind of explain what zinc is doing here, okay? So what a virus does, here's our little virus and the little DNA or RNA material in the virus. It attaches to our cell and it dumps that genetic material into the cell. And it kind of hijacks some of the cellular processes and makes the cell do two things. It makes the cell make more of this genetic material, and it makes the cell make more of the proteins that make up the envelope of the virus. So essentially, our little cell is hijacked, and instead of it doing its normal thing, it's asked to make more of the virus. Okay? We obviously don't want that to happen. Now, this is what's happening with every virus in your body. And according to some science that I was reading earlier today, scientists believe there's 380 trillion viruses in your body right now. So viruses don't cause disease, okay? It is your body's ability to fight these things off and get rid of them and keep them at bay that determines whether you get sick. So how do we keep these viruses from replicating? Well, zinc stops the process or slows down the process of the production of the genetic material of the virus as well as the protein envelope of the virus. So zinc is, as we've heard this, you probably go to Walgreens or CVS, you get a cold and you get Zicam, right? Well, Zicam is a zinc supplement, right? And you go, oh, it's a medication, this Zicam, special medication just for colds. It's not special. It's zinc, okay? And since most colds are caused by a virus, it interrupts that viral production and you get better faster by taking zinc. So what's the moral of the story, right? I spelled that wrong. I missed an L there, all right? So I told you. Hydroxychloroquine helps get zinc into the cell. All right, it's a transporter of zinc into the cell. Before it was hydroxychloroquine, you're going to see this in different writings. You're going to see it just as chloroquine. Either way, all right? But it is a transporter to get zinc into the cell. Zinc interrupts that genetic material. So what can you do, all right? A couple things you need to know, and this is one of the reasons I want to give you a disclaimer, is you can become zinc toxic. You can take too much zinc. All right, just like you could take too much vitamin D, but vitamin D is also, in all the research, helps boost your immune system or regulate your immune system. So we want to make sure we're getting enough zinc. Well, if you have not been taking any and you function off generally speaking, a standard American diet, and maybe your digestion isn't as good as it should be, a good rule of thumb would be to take around 30 milligrams per day for about 30 days to help boost the levels of zinc that you have. But after about 30 days, this level can start to become too much, all right? So we don't want to continue 30 milligrams a day for indefinitely. Essentially, you want to take about 30 milligrams about 2 to 3 times per week. And that would be a good way of keeping your zinc levels up. So, anyway, so that's the story on this medication, right? So we want to have this, we want to make sure you understand what is the deal with this medication. We've talked about making sure, if you've been watching some of our videos, talked about making sure you're not taking ibuprofen if you have the coronavirus. That's something that's important, all right? We've talked about using heat. If you all saw my hair dryer video, pretty interesting way of helping destroy that viral envelope and giving your body, the immune system, a chance to attack the viral RNA a little bit more easily. Now we're talking about zinc. There's vitamin D. Linus Pauling said vitamin C is also a very good way of supporting your immune system. Linus Pauling won the Nobel Prize. He said to take 10,000 units of vitamin C a day. I'm going to tell you, do not take 10,000 units of vitamin C a day. It took him a long time to build up to that. And if you started tomorrow taking 10,000 units of vitamin C, make sure you are near the old porcelain throne, because you are going to find that it is going to affect your bowels drastically. And that is way too much. You have to build up to that. So you don't have to run to the medical doctor and say, I really need this hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine. You can simply, if you want to support your body's immune system, you can add some zinc to your diet, all right? So it's 30 milligrams a day for 30 days will help boost your zinc levels. You want to keep those zinc levels up, 30 milligrams 2 to 3 times a week. If you found this helpful, we want you to give us thumbs up, all right? Those little hearts. All right, the little thumbs up, we want you to give us those. And as always, A lot of people are suffering right now. A lot of people are scared. I am not. I was just talking to Carrie, our nurse practitioner. She goes, "Why am I not scared of getting this virus?" And I said, because your body works well, all right? If your body's working right, then the chances of this being a significant impact on your life, even if you did get it, are really, really slim, all right? It is really the elderly, the immunocompromised. I will tell you, because of what we talked about what the RNA and the genetic material does to the cell, this type of virus can have a pretty big impact on people that are immunocompromised or have not a low-level autoimmune problem, but a high-level autoimmune issue. This can be a pretty significant impact on that immune response. Actually, I'm glad I remembered this. What's interesting is in the studies using chloroquine, all right, or chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine. Do you know why this is given? Another thing that it's given for, it's off-label, but it's often prescribed for people with lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. And you go, well, what would that medication have to do with lupus and rheumatoid arthritis? Those are autoimmune disorders. And what's interesting about that is we want to regulate the immune system better. We want to keep your body we want to keep your body making the correct proteins and not making incorrect proteins that your immune system can attack. We want to make sure we have good levels of zinc. That's going to promote proper DNA sequencing, RNA sequencing in the body. So this medication for people has been prescribed off-label for lupus and rheumatoid arthritis, really from the same basic principle as zinc. So I'm sure you know somebody, and maybe even lots of people that would need to hear this information right now. So the last thing, other than the thumbs up and the little hearts, is hit that share button. We need you to share this information, all right? We need to get this out there so people can do something instead of just worrying about the problem. Worrying is not going to help. My wife, Karen, who's behind the camera right now, can tell you that I have generally in my life been a worrywart. I'm not worried about this thing because our body works pretty well. And she's also drilled into my head over the last 16 years of marriage that worrying does nothing except for ruin the time that you have in your life. So there's my little de-stress for now. So hit that share button. We really appreciate it if you hit that share button. If there's anything we can do to help you, please post in the comments. I may have answers. I may not have answers. If I don't know, I'll tell you, look, I don't know. I may say I have to get back to you on that. I'll do a little research. I spent a good bit of the morning just doing research on this information here because I found it really interesting when I heard about what that stuff, the hydroxychloroquine or the chloroquine, does in relationship to zinc. And it was really fascinating to me that this is the mechanism of action and that you could do something without taking the medication to help regulate and boost your immunity, and that was through zinc. I'm going to end this by saying again, the disclaimer, I'm not saying that zinc is going to treat, cure, prevent any disease, including lupus, RA, COVID-19, or any other cold. I will tell you that the research is out there. It's well-published research in scientific journals that zinc does help regulate the immune system. It is well published on what it does to the DNA sequencing and the RNA sequencing and inside the cell. So while that is valid, well-researched information, can't say that you treat anything with zinc. And unless you want to go to South America and get some, now I can't even remember the name of it, but the bark from the tree down in South America, that would be an interesting thing to do, actually, to see if that actually, if you could go to those cultures and find out if some of those primitive cultures, if you provided them with a virus like the COVID-19 virus, while they were making teas and chewing on the bark of that chicharron, whatever it was called, tree, if they would actually get sick compared to other cultures that had no access to that. So if y'all found that helpful, again, thumbs up, little hearts, and most importantly, please share this with others. This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center here in Middle Tennessee. We appreciate you watching.